Jesus. All right. Hello and welcome to Spitfire Season 2, Episode 11. The Champs episode where Champs has happened, and it's such a big mess that we're going to try and discuss it for you here on the podcast. Swear it was 12 last time. Honestly, mate, I've lost track of whatever one
It's
we're
definitely
on.
11. I go based off what Twitch usually says, and I've updated it last time around. And definitely should
Don't use it apart from that. All right. Well, I'm Brice. Joining me here, Chris Tanner. We're doing some stuff production-wise and all that. You can hear him. And of course, more importantly, our guest for this week. What are you laughing for?
More importantly, I like that, Brice.
I say that every episode.
I appreciate it.
Phil, how are you?
Oh. I'm good. I obviously I've not had the travel days like you guys have, but
yeah, I'm still suffering.
It's been good. I've been posting some pictures on Instagram, like 27 of them from Champs. I'm missing it already, but I'm enjoying the downtime.
Yeah,
I'm downloading Modern Warfare right now, and as soon as you guys let me go, I'm good to go.
Mate, I'm itching already. Don't worry.
Can someone explain? The Queeve is in the chat, but not in the call. I mean, if there's one person I want to hear from, it's a member of Team War.
There's not
very upsetting, Dave.
Not a priority's coming in.
I don't know, mate. He is beautiful and Welsh. We'll see.
Yeah, any pros in the chat and whatnot, obviously feel free to jump in.
Johnny's in there.
I'll send you a link. I said pros.
I want Jono in, but all right. Anyway, let's get straight into this one.
Another tip.
We're just going to quickly go through the groups. I think kind of pull out what we thought was a bit weird. And Group A is where we start, and it does get weird straight away. My game's downloading as well. Dave, why don't you just come in here while your game's downloading, mate? That would make more sense. EUnited, Elevate, RBL Esports, and Celtic FC Esports. I have never seen a collapse like Celtic.
I mean, like, look, we what was that noise? Anyway, we watched. Okay, I'll send Dave the link.
Yeah, you get done with that one. We'll talk about Celtic. We'll talk about Celtic. They had to win one more map. If they won one more map, they're in the bracket. They did the hard work against Elevate. Then against and obviously they lost against EUnited. That's obvious. Problem being is I think they lost it 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to win 2 maps against RBL. RBL looked pretty good. RBL looked all right. They won maps off people.
They looked okay, but they didn't look like they should be. I don't know. We could talk about the abuse we got off the RBL owner on Twitter.
Oh well.
Hilarious.
I'll talk about it. Whoever the RBL owner is a complete moron and doesn't know what he's talking about. And quite frankly, I didn't know who RBL Esports were before Champs, and I'm quite glad I don't know them anymore.
Like, we weren't being harsh on the players or anything. You said, look, you had to they
played
well against EUnited, but like,
I've give full credit to the players. I just think the org is a shocking organisation, and I'd be glad you're no longer in Call of Duty, you moron.
Oh God, you big mad.
It's just pathetic. He's just a pathetic person, and I hope somebody links this to him because he is genuinely an idiot. Like, that is not only unprofessional, but to overshadow your team's.
He realized his mistakes.
Yeah, he did. But to overshadow his team's achievements by having a go at the casters for not, as far as I can tell, he wanted us to start screaming their praises to the high heavens.
Never know where they're going to be next year. RBL.
Yeah, well, in the bin, I imagine. But yeah, I think the Celtic FC Esports thing, right, is. I don't really know. Like, it seemed like there was a big argument underneath their game. They basically lost control against RBL, and the biggest shame of that is I don't know whether if they played RBL first, would they have that same pressure? Like, if they played EUnited last, it probably wouldn't have been as bad.
I think they started so well, and everyone had such high expectations. Obviously, since they started strong, everyone expected them to lose to EUnited, and then it was kind of like that whole. Nice price. That whole triangle of if you should be A and you lose to B, then B should be A, for example. And it doesn't work like that.
No.
And they kind of bottled it. And again, going in, kind of knowing you got to win one more map, and then losing the way they did. It was a huge upset, but there was many of upsets of Champs. I don't think it's the biggest. I don't think it's the craziest.
It looked like one of the craziest to begin with. But there are worse groups than this, and I believe Dave is now in here with us.
I just saw Dave's face starting to lick your shoulder. So
I'm sorting it out. Just give me a second.
Time is sorting out. Let's anything else? I mean, EUnited started off hot. I was surprised how far Elevate got in the competition, considering they didn't look strong in bracket play.
Yeah, Elevate. I don't know that because I cast a couple of Elevate's games, obviously on Bravo, and there was quite a few moments where I feel like, I mean, they were always the underdog kind of going forward, but how did they do in pools? I can't even remember how they did in pools.
They got
So
very
they
lucky
lost. They lost against Celtic and beat RBL 3-1. They lost against Celtic 3-1 as well, I think.
They were kind of expected to get third. In my opinion, they should have beat RBL and lost to the other two, but it was just obviously Celtic's kind of messed up that put them through. And but when they were in bracket, they did pretty well.
Yeah, that's the biggest shock for me is how bad they did. By the way, I believe Dave is now here. Dave?
Yeah, Dave, you're going to have to adjust your inputs on Zoom. That'll be why. You have to go to your audio and just make sure your mic is...
honestly, the image is enough. I don't think we need to hear the voice. That combination's dangerous for anyone viewing.
He is a beautiful, beautiful man. He's figuring it out now. He's working through
when
it.
Jess had to interview Dave, she came back all flustered.
I mean,
Great.
Genuinely.
I get flustered whenever I saw him on camera. That was the problem for me. Whenever we went to the picture of the players, just kept looking at Dave. It was mad.
Oof.
I don't know. You can't figure it out. Dave, have you got any other things open? Is that what's going on? You got stuff that's taken over your microphone? It's literally the big microphone on the left.
He'll figure it out.
Dave knows what he's doing. It's right. Well, we got this. We're very confused how this shit works. Wait a minute, I just heard him.
Yeah, I feel it in here.
What? You can hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. Yeah, you go.
Oh, there we are. Happy days.
There we go. I heard you laugh.
I literally have not clicked nothing. And I've been speaking. I haven't done anything.
Well, did you even test if it was working before?
Yeah, I said something and no one replied. So, I mean...
All right, Dave, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, mate. I'm great.
Seems like he's having a ball all the time.
He's got all flustered over that one. It's all good. Well, let's move on to Group B here because we don't want to spend too long on the groups.
I enjoyed that group.
Group B, Enigma 6, Team War, Fuego, and Genji. Obviously, Genji just threw it in the bin about as hard as you can at any team I've ever seen at a major like that.
Quite good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest joke of the team. For someone going in back-to-back seconds and then not making it out. And handing an average team like Team War a spot.
Excuse me? What's up?
Jesus.
Wow.
That's one of the crazy things, but I think we're all kind of happy to see DQVE in the bracket play doing his thing. But Genji, I think that's the craziest upset. And they were out by what, like 7 hours into the tournament?
Yeah,
I think
because I think I tweeted that out. I said, Genji, we were in a 5-day tournament. Genji don't make it 7 hours. What a ridiculous stat line for Genji. Like I don't understand. Like I heard there was problems, in their camp and stuff. But to go from, I believe, the highest placing average of any team over the year.
When you were playing them, Dave, did they just seem like flat or something, or was just they just didn't seem very good? Or
I was convinced that Nagafen was throwing 100%. I don't know. They were. I expect them to be a lot harder than they were, and we were just picking up kills when we should never been able to get them. Like people were just on their own all the time.
Because you 3-0'd them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. I mean, look, we expected you to give E6 a good run to get out of groups, but everyone had Genji in first, and that was like nothing on you guys, but like shit, they've been insane all year, and it was just. I mean,
Genji should have been in the same position EUnited was in Group A. They should have beat everyone in their pool and probably beat them 3-0 with what they had. But to come in not even slow and just scrape through, to come in and get 3-0'd by those teams was crazy.
Here's my question about this whole thing. Bearing in mind we are now entering franchise era where everybody and their dog is trying to get the biggest contract possible. Do you think that has hurt their stock in a horrific way? Because bearing in mind, if they came second at champs or whatever, people will be snapping up those Genji players. Not a doubt in my mind.
I think it's hurt them to a point, but not to the point.
I think it will probably hurt them monetarily. In some regard, the contracts will probably be a little bit lower this year than they could have been.
I think it will hurt them more than you're saying. I personally, I just think that not only will their stock go down individually, but like the team, if that team did well and got another second, they're not splitting up. They're not looking to like go somewhere else. But now I can see, kind of like similar to Faze, I can see certain players sticking with certain players, them splitting up. That damages their stock because they were good as a 5, but are they good individually?
Yeah. I don't think their individual stock is necessarily being done, but I know what you mean about a team. I
certain
still
players
think
will be okay.
Yeah, I still think players like
Faze,
Envoy. I think Envoy will be very like hot property when it comes to trying to pick up subs for next year. I'd imagine.
Let's talk. Let's move on from Genji then. Like I said, I don't want to touch too much on the groups, but that is the biggest story. To get out of this group was Team War versus Fuego, which blew my mind. That was the last game that took place. Dave, any nerves going into that one?
No, I didn't really feel any nerves for that game. It was just, I just knew we matched up well against them when we were just a scrim. They're a very slow team, and my team just they are cracked. They just, I think it's a negative and a positive on our team with 3 players just do not know how to slow down.
Yeah, I can see that. I remember the S&D, but we'll get to that S&D in a little while. We'll talk about that in a bit. Group C, Faze Clan, Units, Mazer Gaming, and Animosity. The thing for me here is this is actually exactly how we thought this group would go.
Yeah.
I do remember speaking to members of Units when they first played Mazer, and it wasn't an easy game, if I remember correctly. That was a very close game.
I mean, look, we said that Mazer have a shot. They were, again, they came third in Miami, so they're always going to be decent. You look at the roster as well, it was solid. But to be honest, Units played pretty well, in fairness.
They were confident going into it, though.
Yeah, they're super confident. I think, a lot of people give them flack, but in all honesty, I think they're still stronger than the majority of teams that were there. I mean, I know the placement, so I know we'll get to that. It has been inflated by the bracket, but realistically, they should always be able to deal with Mazer and Animosity. Close game, as you said, between Mazer. That was really the standout one, but realistically, we were expecting it to be close. I always thought Units would pip them to it, though.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, walking into that game, Unit said this will be over quickly. People have been gassing Mazer too much, and then I think went down. I was like, oh, God, that's not good. It's not good.
I think Units underestimated him, but not too much of a story, to be honest.
Trying to see the score for it.
It
was 3-2. It was 3-2.
Anything about that group, Dave?
What made me laugh in that group is that as soon as we finished our Fuego series, Faze and Eunice came to set up, and they were both just speaking to each other, saying both teams were going to try throw the game because whoever lost got the easy bracket. So, like Reese was saying, whoever throws harder is going to go further in the tournament.
Oh my God, did that pay out? Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, you tell me Faze don't run through that side of the bracket. Well,
it's mad, isn't it?
Not run through it, but at least,
Well, get better than top 16.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Anyway.
Group D, Team Envy came out shooting.
Yeah, that ended up being a bit of a surprise. I think, Reciprocity will be kicking themselves there because, again, they get an easier side in the bracket if they beat Envy. And
I mean, to be fair, Rec were just going through it anyway. I don't know.
Well,
they got top 6.
I know. They did still get top 6, but still.
Yeah, I don't think they would have got much better. But I was surprised that Envy came out so well in groups, to be honest. I thought they were going to suck.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be really bad as well.
Or I thought they would get second top. Like, I thought Rec would beat them, but the game wasn't crazy.
So Rec came out, beat Faze, beat LG, lost to Optic. Whereas if they came out in MV spots, they would have played Units, played Sicario, played EUnited. Yeah, so actually I probably would have dropped it.
They probably would have just lost at a EUnited stage anyway.
Yeah, lost to EUnited, then would have played E6, then would have played 100T, who they lost to anyway. So they might have maybe finished top 4 if they hadn't got that far.
So this is the group that we thought Reciprocity would come above Envy, but we didn't think anything would really change. We thought Stage might be able to do something. So this was the group, if I remember correctly, when we were talking about it, that we were like, because we were just shitting on Envy, if I remember correctly in the pre-show, like just how far they'd fallen off, and they come into the groups and do well. So that was
It
was a surprise, but honestly, we expected them to get out. To be fair,
I think the only surprise was just the game versus Rec. They should have done what they did versus the other two teams, and that's when you split the amateurs and pros up. That's what happens. But Envy, obviously, I'm sure we'll get onto it, started throwing games left, right, and center when they go into bracket. 5-0 in Search and Destroy. I don't even know if that was in bracket or was that in pool. They were 5-0 up in Search and Destroy, lost 6-5.
Pretty sure.
Wild Point, they were like 220 to 8.
That was actually in pools. I think that was against Legend or somebody. Yeah, hold on, I'll bring the scoreboard.
That was hilarious.
I'll double check, but I'm sure that was in pools because I'm sure Ali was actually casting over Assault, obviously.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Did she say she wanted to go home or something?
It wasn't
like after one of their games.
It was against. I want to say Sage. It must have been. Yeah, no, S&D frequency to Sage 6-5. So I'm presuming it's that one.
Tough.
Sage obviously being like Cells, Vivid, Rex, and Co. So yeah. I mean, the wins didn't come easy. 3-2 in every single game. So yeah, good. At least their S&D look better because if it doesn't, then they lose every single one of them series.
Again, that one was a fairly obvious one. We didn't think Sage would come above Reciprocity. The question was Envy, whether or not they'd turn up, and then they did, and they went top of the group.
Yeah.
I want to move on to Group E, right? We've got to move on to Group E because Team Singularity were probably one of the biggest surprises in terms of a team just turning up and having. Remember correctly, like some of the discussion in the green room were like, "Who are these guys?" From the Americans, obviously, not from the rest of us. Some of the Americans, never heard of any of them, but
we were getting questioned.
Phoenix joke.
I mean, we were getting questioned when we were like, "Oh, well, why didn't you think like these would go far?" It's because they've done fuck all year. Like, that's the thing; they've done absolutely nothing. I don't know if you've like been playing against them much this year, Dave, but for me, like even in Miami, they're
a very fast-paced team. When you screw them online, it's like one of them teams which they're all just playing together and so fast it's just frustrating to play against. But I think. Josh said before the event they're gonna 3-0 LG. They're gonna catch a couple of teams by surprise, and they did. So Josh made a good prediction.
I think it reminded me of the old Fab E roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll explain why. Because it's one of those teams that nobody expected to do much at champs. If you go back to that, Black Ops 3 stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then when teams ran against them, they love playing at that high tempo, furious pace. And that's exactly what you guys used to be, right? Like Fabi used to be that team with like a buzzsaw. Like they just run into opponents and they'd enjoy running into opponents.
Yeah, people got smoked.
Yeah. And I think, people weren't ready for Singularity.
No. Obviously not prepared for them. And I think a big thing to take into consideration is the fact that, again, we hop on about it a lot. When these teams are going through the open bracket, you don't have much VOD to look over, specifically if you're a pro team. So they probably just go and pick the comfortable maps and then end up drawing like shit like what. I'll be interested to see what they played on against them. I know I may be delving a little bit deep here, but realistically, there would have been some of them that would have ended up peaking frequency and shit like that against them, which I presume.
The funny thing is, they had done better. Like every event they'd gone to, this Singularity roster roughly.
Yeah.
Obviously, it had a bit of a change because I think Quick used to be in this roster as well. But like at the finals, they were 5th, 6th, but still, that doesn't usually give you a good thing that they're just going to start running through pro teams. Like there was no. Even with that, I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh yeah, they're going to smack LG and UIU." Although, in fairness, I did say UIU I thought were terrible.
They only beat UIU 3-2. If UIU,
yeah, they threw everyone else in the group. They were the only team to take maps off them. But I didn't even know half the roster going into the champs.
I mean, we just didn't have much expectation on them. I thought that they were in a hard group. I think UIU were sort of like, but at the same time,
if I remember correctly, I was questioning Singularity because I actually thought UIU were terrible. I just didn't have any faith in them going into champs.
UIU actually didn't play that badly. They just got unfortunate with LG. I mean, UIU did get beat 3-2 off Singularity, beat Vanity as they should have, but then
I meant in reference to as a pro team. I just thought they were one of the pro teams.
But
they weren't
that S&D. If they win that 1v1, LG are done. So
yeah.
I think Singularity not like placing high because everyone like when they looked at the open bracket, it was like they were talking Mindfreak or Faze Black or like whoever it was at that current time, and they were never like in the talks of like, oh, who are these guys? Like we had no introduction to them. If they placed 5th, 6th with you guys on the open bracket, like you will have probably heard and cast over a few of their games, but I had no idea. I knew of the names of certain people on there, but like I'd never even heard of Kleenex going into this one.
I mean, we'd heard of him. We sort of knew he was one of the up and comers, but honestly, if they finished top 6 in Miami, we definitely would have been like, right, we need to keep an eye on them. But finished, or was it top 12 or something?
But even top 6 in Miami,
they did finish
right?
top 6
and that's when Clinics turned up. Like, there was nothing to say that this was going to be a team that would start to take down some bigger names. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
But, fair play to them. We'll get into the bracket in a little bit, but I want to move on now. Apart from UIU doing about as bad as I thought they were, there wasn't too many surprises in there. The next group's kind of the same thing, right? 100 Thieves were obvious to go top of the group. Sicario, Midnight, and Fury. Didn't think Fury were going to do a ton.
No.
And I still said I had doubts over Midnight. I thought Sicario versus Midnight would be very interesting because, and here's the way I summed up Sicario when I was speaking about them during the bracket. Sicario, I felt like, were better individuals than they were a team some of the time. So they had this great individual gunplay that they were just bringing to it, and they seemed relaxed the entire tournament. They just felt like they were just there to just do what they could.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a little bit of that. Honestly, I think I didn't get to see much of them personally, just with the games that fell, etc., etc. So I think they had a relatively. I think they got beat 3-0 by 100 Thieves, but then as far as I was aware, the maps were relatively close.
I think Chino played well in certain maps.
Yeah, Chino actually, that was the standout for me more than anything. When I did see them play, Chino was playing really well. A bit more like what we came to expect of him from last year. Obviously not quite there, but at the same time, a little bit better from him, and suddenly the team looked relatively decent. So I think he was a big reason as to why everybody else on that team had a relatively solid time of things when I did see them, as said. But I thought Chino was the surprise for me, because I hadn't seen much from him this year at all.
There was a kid called Exceed on their team as well. He was frying. Because I cast a couple of their games, and it wasn't necessarily like Chino and Tommy all the time. I think, was it Proto on their team as well? But it was just like everyone had their moments, but it was some of the lesser names that were really kind of stepping up on that roster, which I kind of liked.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Pretty straightforward pool anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't a million miles off, to be fair. And I think a lot of these were, we kind of knew, like, outside of Midnight and UIU, which I didn't think were going to have a great tournament, because there was like 3 or 4 pro teams we knew would struggle against some of the amateurs coming in. That's basically what happened. The next group, by the way, Group G, Optic Gaming, EG, and then you got Train Hard and Carnage. Like, there's no surprise there.
Yeah.
Although Group G is when the Optic Gaming hype started up again. It's always the same thing. It doesn't matter how they play all year. Literally, it's irrelevant. Honestly, if Optic Gaming hadn't won a single map all year, as soon as they start winning something, the Optic hype train starts, and people are like, "They're gonna win champs. They're gonna win champs."
Honestly, like, I know we'll talk about the bracket. I thought they were gonna fucking win it at one point on the Saturday, Sunday.
I don't know about
I didn't think they were gonna win it. I spoke about them when they were in the winner bracket final on an interview, and it was just like, now they exceeded expectations for me. But they did look so much better than they did previously. But this was the group that, when I got asked the question, like, which is the most clear-cut group, and this was the one where it's like, here's the 2 teams going through, and here's 2 teams that aren't going through. And
I think it was the Silent Tempest buff that helped, actually.
Oh.
Bet Dave was smiling at that one.
Oh, that was a nice one.
Yeah, where the hell did that come from?
It didn't.
I don't know.
It wasn't supposed to, as far as I'm aware. There's no patch notes for it, so who fucking knows?
Mental. Didn't happen. No confirmation.
Didn't happen.
Wasn't buffed.
There's someone be around the wall so far, and you'd still get a hit marker on them, and they go down.
Yeah. Somebody was saying that it seemed to change from ballistics to hit scan. I think that's what everyone was presuming it was, but
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
That was so powerful, though. That the 2 MVPs of this tournament were fucking the Tempest and the RK7.
The RK7's pretty good.
The RK7 is ridiculous. Pocket rocket. Yep. Just keep going on. Let's go on to our last group here, because it features Splyce, who only dropped a map, and Heretics, who got through, but the other 2 teams, Aspire and Hybrid, weren't expected to. This was a group that, again, was sewn up, right?
Yeah.
But people want to know how I was worried about Team Heretics going into
I
this
was
one,
worried. I
admittedly.
was worried about Heretics just because Aspire. You look at the names on that, like Fastball or Robbie B, Tish.
Yeah.
People who've been around. Same on Hybrid, Stamino, Spoof Panda, Beezy. I mean, guys that have been in the Pro League this year at some point. So I did worry for Heretics a little bit, but in the end they looked pretty solid outside of the game against Splyce, of course. I think they pretty much smoked their games, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
3-0'd Hybrid and 3-0'd Aspire. So, yeah. I think it's one of those where the amateur teams just didn't really step up to the mark, and it was really comfortable games. As far as it looks from here.
It was another group where it was clear cut for me. 2 teams going through. And
I just think there was queries around Heretics, though, wasn't there? Like there
were queries, and we'll see when we get into the bracket that those queries were never really answered. I think they're just getting out of the groups was an achievement for them. Let's be perfectly clear.
Yeah.
Let's go into our group then, where everything gets a little bit spicy because we've already had some shocks. So EUnited versus War was first game.
Yeah.
let's just go to round 2.
The United came into this bracket firing on all cylinders, didn't they? Like I remember correctly, like the amount of people who'd played United in this tournament and would just speak about it afterwards, like they were shell shocked, like just didn't know what was happening.
Still having nightmares. Simping a Beezy, just slapping their dicks on my head.
You looked all right on the frequency S&D though. It was just
because they can't just sprint at you.
Yeah,
it's a bit more structure.
It seemed like at times you were just sprinting at them, and they just weren't really ready for it. It was weird.
Yeah, I mean, Team War had some cracked players, but those two have the cracked players.
Yeah, fucking guys who could sprint at you, make a 3-piece, and just laugh at you.
Could be worse, man. You could have been units. You'd have said it worse than you guys did.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Then we had Splyce EG, and this is the start of the downfall of Splyce, because people have been hyping up this Temp Hugh duo all year. We get it, and it was just crap. It just wasn't very good.
Just a bit shit at times, wasn't it?
It's just like, oh, this is not what we're expecting.
They kind of got worse in a weird way. And going into, I think on trading shots, we got asked the question which team has like the most pressure. And for me, it was Splyce in the fact that they made this roster. Everyone was like, finally, Temp's going to win. They've been so good. They got good placements at the start of the year. Hugh joined. I think Hugh is an amazing player, but I still think he is currently overrated.
Yep, I've said it for a while.
Temp hit was like amazing, like consistent, like 1.3 on respawn. And that kind of slowed down, but I don't know. Something about this team didn't work.
Bring back Nelson. Stick him back in there.
They were no worse with him. They were no better with him, kind of thing. But the original Splyce roster. Now you question some of the choices. It should have worked with Hugh. It made sense on paper, but it was like, why didn't Hugh and Jared become Simp and Abizi? Why
That's what people were expecting. People were expecting Simp and Abizi to be Hugh and Temp or whatever the other way around. But like it just, and I also heard, this is another thing I heard, and you hear these things from pros at events. I heard that the chemistry and the ethic in that team was bad, like really bad.
Well, I mean, look, there's no hiding it. Like we sort of knew that they didn't really respect Mark either. It seems that way anyway. Like, let's be honest, it would have been so difficult for him, and I think there's probably some bias from my point of view there with Mark being a good pal, but like, there's no way that they made his job easy. There's no way.
But apparently, it was just toxic as hell in the Splyce camp. I don't know, whether or not how much. I didn't really speak to Mark about it. I don't want to speak to Mark about it after just crashing out champs. This is from other people I spoke to, and they just heard it was not good in that camp.
I mean, look, Temp's a great player, but we know that he probably has his issues, not necessarily attitude-wise, but I don't know. I don't know if it's like an ego thing or
it's cost him, isn't it?
Well,
yeah, it's too late now.
Might not just be that, but
if you can't get it together for champs, then that's your problem.
Yeah.
Well, I think you goes back to Envy now. What actually happens to this roster, nobody kind of knows. But it didn't work. But I think it was more the surprising thing. It didn't work was between the Sorgs. I thought the Sorgs would just start to run this team, and much like EUnited, it wouldn't. Whether it was Aqua or Looney or whether it was kind of Temp being that third Slayer, it wouldn't really matter because there's just so much talent. But it clearly,
I mean, the
did.
talent, like, I know we'll talk about when we get there, but Jesus, I don't know if you watched that control back, Dave. Fucking
Yeah,
hell.
yeah, a couple of times.
We'll get to that. We'll get into that because that is.
I mean, they've got the talent, but Jesus Christ.
I believe it. Anyway, let's move on to this bracket. Sicario, Singularity, and I was surprised that I thought Singularity were playing really quite well.
Yeah.
But Sicario.
So I cast this game, and I was kind of excited. It was like the two amateurs going head to head, and everyone was like, "Oh, you've got like not good games cast." And I was like, "This is going to be probably one of the best,
Close game.
one of the better winter bracket round ones." But I did think I thought Sicario would come out, but again, I guess it was me still underestimating Singularity. And it was on Bravo. I think what was it, 3-1 to Sicario?
Yeah, 3-1. Yeah.
3-1.
It surprised me that.
But Singularity came out so strong on map 1, I think, and then they came in flat in the S&D.
Sicario map number 1, Singularity won S&D, and then the next 2 maps went to Sicario.
I think Miles was asking me, he was like, do you think it's a slow start or slow start or the inexperience is showing? But when you saw, again, it was the new kids on Sicario, like Exceed and someone else. They fried that control. I think it was on frequency. Exceed went like 20. I think it was 30 and 20 at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exact numbers, but that's when I kind of thought, okay, Singularity, they did well in pools, but they've met their match a little bit, and this is where they're going to bomb out the tournament. Little did I know.
I mean, we were saying it. We were having dinner with, I think it was Ben and Merck after the groups, and they were like, they thought Sicario were going to go at the top 6, and I was like, I don't know. I just feel like it gets. You see these teams do this on the odd occasion through groups, but bracket play is a different monster, a completely different monster, and in the end, they had probably one of the easier games, if not on paper, the easiest game. And they lost it. And you think, if they win that, they go on to play Units. You never know. Then they go on to play EUnited. They would lose, obviously. But in the end, I think it's a difficult one. I thought they would have won that after what we've seen in groups. But at the same time, Sicario looked better in groups, better in fucking bracket play than they did in groups. So I don't know. It was a tough one to call. I was surprised it went the way Sicario though. Surprised.
You see any of this, Dave?
No, didn't see it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We can move on then. Envy units. This was a close game in some of these.
It shouldn't have
Envy
been.
units.
Are we going to talk about map 1 and what happened?
I don't even remember it.
Go on, Tunn. You fill us in.
Fucking Joe got stuck in the window at
I remember
with like
it,
10
yeah.
seconds left on the hill or something. And I mean, look, you don't say that it definitely goes the way of units, obviously, but at the same time,
There's every chance he could have got beaten and just died.
they still could have got beaten, but it was one of those where it was like, right, okay. But then, the fact that units went on to win that afterwards, actually, I was quite impressed with, because I would have lost full if
I was
didn't
expecting him to
play.
lose full.
Yeah, knowing Reese, he would have been losing his bloody mind.
That ended 6-5 S&D, didn't it? Imagine that feeling. 5-5 S&D. Like
shit.
Rated would have just lost his mind.
1,000,000%. I'm not going to go on like criticize. I'm not going to go on to criticize any of the decisions, but for me, I think based on what we'd seen previous events on restarts and stuff, I felt like that should have been replayed at least.
Yeah,
but
if it was like a top American team that happened to, it was getting restarted.
I don't know the rules, so I tend not to argue.
Yeah, it's hard to
say anything controversial, but
yeah, it's one of those that we've seen.
No comment. Move on.
Yeah, other series have been restarted for similar reasons, but that one didn't. For some
Next question, please.
Come on, Phil, you know
All
an answer.
Let's talk about.
I think the refs are doing a great job over here, and
I'll be honest with you. I'm actually on a Phil side with this because I don't enforce the rules or take any part.
There will be rules. Like I think when we speak to the likes of Rami and stuff like that, when they explain it, they're like, you usually like, okay, that makes sense, but obviously we don't see every single rule book.
No, we don't. I'm just basing it on other results that we've seen, like when
the
Callisto,
EUnited Genji final. Yeah.
I think things
who
like
knows?
that, and it's like, well, why wasn't that restarted? But at the same time, as I said, there could be rules that we just don't know about. But for me, in my head, I think it should be in replayed. But anyway.
So anyway, let's move on because this next game is interesting. Rec Faze.
Yeah, we got past the first 2 maps of that, didn't we, actually?
Yeah, we did because Phil was late as usual.
It wasn't even Phil.
Wait, what did I do? Sorry,
It was
Was
Ben
it not
and
Phil?
Chance.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I like rubbing it in the Phil.
Yeah,
so this,
I was late for shit.
This was the one of the shocking games because while it's not a big upset, people were expecting FaZe to do bits at champs.
Yep, me included.
And they only won one map. I actually got the score here. So I can't remember what map they won because this
Arsenal.
the thing I've got. They won Arsenal. You say?
FaZe won Arsenal 250 to 166.
Yeah, and then they lost 6-4, 3-1, and then 250 to 160. Like Rec just started to turn up, and that's obviously everybody loves Big Dylan. Become a legend in his own right. But I don't know, man. I still feel like FaZe heavily gassed coming into this top 4 team. And Rec would put like top 8, top 6. Like it was definitely a difference in the two teams that we were expecting. What do we think went wrong for FaZe?
I think FaZe are inconsistent, and we saw that previously in Miami. They have days where they fry like 3-0 in 100 Thieves. They have days like Championship Sunday on Miami where they just start slow, finish slow, in the middle slot. Like I just didn't see any consistency because then when FaZe, of course, we'll get onto it, dropped down. It like the first 2 matches versus 100 Thieves, you're like, who's this team? If this team played Rec, then it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah,
it was just like you just never knew what you were going to get with FaZe, and the best was incredible, but the worst, or like what we saw them Sunday on Miami, was you're like, what the hell happened to these guys? And you always see on social media like, oh, we came out slow, or didn't play well that series, and
I never got that though. That coming out slow.
yeah, I think Stellium versus, I don't know if it was 100 Thieves or if it was versus Rec, but he had like 50 kills on some of the respawns. And they were coming out for the L, and I was like, what is this? What is going on?
It was a full collapse here. But here's the thing, right? So FaZe versus Rec was one side of that like part of the bracket. The other side was 100T LG. And everyone was thinking, yeah, it'll be a FaZe 100T in the second round. Obviously it wasn't, and those two had to go face each other in the loser bracket. But LG did the business against 100 Thieves as well. There's another team you're expecting to kind of bounce back into this. And obviously 100T, after losing in their very first round, ended up going all the way to the grand finals, which is quite frankly mental considering when we get to the loser bracket game. I don't understand what the hell happened, but LG can redeem themselves, come second in the group, and just put it together. By the way, the 2 seconds in the group on that one, because FaZe were first and 100T were first. Rec and LG both beat the first from other group. So it's fucking it's mental.
I was more surprised at the LG 100T result, to be honest. I think, I said we know FaZe have their inconsistencies at time, but LG looked pretty flat in pools, in all honesty.
LG just didn't look great in pools or before that. Like coming into the tournament again, LG were like
up and down.
And then we saw an incredible form. Well, John's had an awful year, but at champs he was like pretty good. He wasn't amazing, but he was pretty solid. Yeah. Skies played very well. Brack and Skies kind of like they always kind of take it in turns to have good maps, it seems. But yeah, Formal on some of those respawns, like you could see it going into the game. Like he was, I don't want to say wanted it more, but like he was ready. Like, and he isn't phased by pressure, he isn't phased by champs, whatever. Like he's done it all before.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just one of those upsets, but ones that you could kind of see coming. Like it's not the biggest shock ever. I think just the fact they ended up going to the loser bracket just blew my mind. But
yeah,
let's move on to before we go, Dave, anything to say about those 2 games?
No, I didn't see them.
Screaming in the back.
I was either playing or warming up in these games, so I wasn't like, I'd have my phone there under my monitor while I was warming up, but I wasn't like taking much interest. I was just looking how far I was until I went to play. That's the only like. That's fair, man. In fairness, you feature heavily in the rest of this, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Because you either play most of these teams after this, or like, or your games are quite frankly bananas. Let's do the next 2 because the next 2 aren't like shocking in any regards. Optic Gaming versus Heretics and E6 versus Elevate.
the Heretics game for OG, and it sounds weird, but it's the first time I thought OG looked a little bit like. No, I honestly thought they were. The problem with the OG, there's a theme. If you look through the bracket, that they just don't win a game clean at any point. They always drop a map. And I feel like if Optic Gaming come in and just started 3-0ing everybody.
Even in Vegas, when they were smoking a lot of teams, they weren't. I mean, I say smoke, they weren't necessarily smoking them. They were always dropping maps, and they've always been that way. They've never been consistent in every single game mode. It seems as if they sort of chop and change in between what's good for them. But I mean, 3-1, what was the... Let's have a look. Frequency smoked them, lost SD, and then won the rest pretty comfortably.
Yeah. I cast both of these games, and Optic won every single game up until this point on the 4th, which was the hard point. They had dropped like one hard point in about 10, and the 9 that they won, some of them were really convincing. I cast Optic Heretics and Alpha, and it was like... It was pretty one-sided in all the respawns. It was very convincing. It wasn't an exciting series. And, the crowd was good because it was Optic, by all means. But I think it wasn't anything that we didn't expect. That was actually the first time when I saw Optic in bracket, and I was like, these guys actually are looking really, really good. Like, TJ's looking really strong. Scump had a really good series, and Scump's been up and down all year.
I think it's a hard barometer, though, because we never really rated Heretics too highly.
I thought Heretics could make a bit of an upset and maybe push that like top 6 potentially, but I just think they came in.
I had no faith in them. I had zero faith in Heretics coming into champs.
I think I want them to do well. I think it's a little bit of like.
I love the fan base. I love the passion, but I just had zero faith in them. Like every time we see them go away and do something, it seems to get worse. Like that's one team that started off super high, and you can just watch their descent throughout the year, just constantly getting lower and lower and lower. And I don't know whether that was teams catching up or what happened, or just poor decisions.
They chopped and changed so much with roles and rosters and things like that. But I don't think they were terrible decisions. I think it was outside of game decisions. I was going to talk about the E6 Elevate, but I don't know if you guys.
I know we can talk about it because both these were games we expected to go this way. Like it's not a big shock.
So E6 Elevate was the last game on Bravo. I believe it was the one after we were there till the very end of the day. Everyone had left, but after like 2 maps or 1 map or something, I had a technical difficulty for an hour. It took like 2.5 hours to get the series done.
Yeah,
but it was like it was a really, really weird series. And it was the series where it's like you either make it to Sunday or you don't make it to Sunday. And E6 kind of came up clutch. Yeah, and it was... Oh, is it a different one which I'm thinking of?
It's a different one. You're thinking of the Heretics Elevate game, which did go last map, and I remember taking a photo of your face while you were...
You're right, because you casted the War game before, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, E6 Elevate, I probably did cast...
You did cast, because I took your leg day after.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Yeah, it was actually another last game of the day.
Because we took your other game, which we're going to speak about next.
E6 Elevate was... Did we not have that, Brice?
No, E6 Elevate.
I don't think we did. I don't remember casting that game.
You had Elevate Heretics.
Yeah, we did. Because that's how we said bye to Heretics.
Well, I can comment on the E6 Elevate game. E6 were a lot better, and Elevate looked like shit. Honestly, they were so lucky to get out of groups.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
Garbage.
Let's get into our loser bracket then. Because this is, we have to cover this first game in the loser bracket, right? Because we cast it. And here's the thing. I fully believe if this was like an Optic 100 Thieves game, this game would go down as one of these, it would go down in history. And everybody would non-stop talking about it at this point. But because, obviously people were watching other stuff and no one really knew what would happen, like War Splyce. But it started off fairly normal. We're like, oh, okay, this is one of those normal sort of things we expect to happen.
I'd just like to point out that Brice thought you were going to get beat, Dev.
Mate,
wow,
in fairness, Dave, I still don't understand how you won.
Yeah, me neither. I think back, I'm like, I'm annoyed by how we went out of the tournament, but shouldn't have really been in the tournament.
Who was this again?
Splyce.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if you
I didn't see this. I think I tuned in. Did it go game 5?
Yeah, you have to watch the VOD, Phil. You have to watch the VOD.
I think I came back to the green room and it was like game 5, but I'll let you guys talk about this one.
I've seen some bad control games from some teams. Oh, wow. I mean, they took the cake. Jesus.
Oh,
I mean, the one where it was 9v19, it didn't come down to lives in the end. I think
No.
it was.
Oh, I do
D-Frag just
remember
went
this.
crazy in the.
He had a Tempest, didn't he?
Yeah. In the last, it
yeah,
didn't
that
actually
was
matter.
last
It didn't actually matter. But I was just weird. But honestly, so here's the scores for it because I can't remember. I can only remember you guys. I remember you winning the control in the S&D. What's the other map you won?
the first hard point.
Gridlock.
Yeah, so that was close as well, right? So
Yeah, it's
this is how mental this series went: 250 to 220 gridlock.
Right.
Then you guys just got absolutely slapped on the hacienda. Like it wasn't even close.
We didn't spawn in that map. We didn't spawn
Yeah,
in.
6-0.
Honestly, I watched it again and I was just. That was the worst S&D I'd seen you play.
People didn't stop sprinting.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, are these not going to slow down? They just seem to be running into stuff.
All right.
Like,
What was the control? Close one. It was 6-0.
So the control was 3-1, right? But here's how the rounds at War won. It was 4 versus like 9, or 4 versus 8.
I think Steve got a 4-piece to win that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, literally just insane. Then it was like 9 versus 19, and bearing in mind when it was 9 versus 19, they hadn't got either point. They didn't have A or B.
And then we got both. Beautiful.
And then
To
they
be
somehow
fair,
just somehow capped A in a ridiculous hole, and
that
then just ran
round-
off to B and got it.
That
Right.
round was the crazy one, I think. I think it was down to PD, got in ahead, didn't he? And-
Here we go. The round to win the game, though, right? Listen, now. It was like a 5v9 or something like that, and then we get it down to a 4v5.
Oh, I know you're gonna say it. Jesus Christ.
And Steve was top church, and he's just looking at the cross to P1, and then all I hear in my headset is 1P1, 2P1, 3P1, 4P1, 5P1, 5 of them, all P1, right? And then remember, two days earlier, I was watching someone scrim in the warm-up rooms, and he went on this spot on frequency to look at the P1 stairs coming up to side church. And I've never seen it before in my life. New spot. I didn't know how the fuck he got on it, and so I was like, fuck it, there's 5 coming P1. I'm going to try getting this spot. I failed it first time, and luckily I managed to get on this little ledge, and it's an absolute unreal head glitch. They didn't expect it, and I killed one, and I ran away somehow. I got away. If I didn't know about that spot, I was going to get traded instantly. So luckily that happened. I managed
I
to
have
get
no
away.
idea how you survived, even. Like,
I don't know where this heady is. You've heard about it. I have no idea what we're talking about.
It was on the entrance to church, like broken side. It's like a
Oh,
little jump up, and it's yeah.
It's the first time I've ever seen it. Is it behind White Truck on the left?
Yeah.
Behind the white truck on the left, on the
Disgusting.
curved bit of the church.
I saw someone sat on it. I was like, where are they?
Yeah, and I went on
I've
it.
never seen it before. Never seen it before.
Beautiful stuff.
Oh no! Now I remember because I remember watching you on the minimap, thinking you were about to die, and somehow I remember you. I do because we weren't watching you at the time. I remember seeing you make the kill, and I do remember saying, "How has he got away there?"
No, I remember explicitly going, "What?" Like when he got away, I was like,
Because then you backed off into church, didn't you? You went straight into
Yeah.
church.
and then
I
the
shit
boys
myself
slid
when I
out.
got on the heady because there was 5 people on my screen. I was glad I picked one to shoot at and kill him.
Yeah, and then honestly, that was like because we were going berserk because me and Tom were casting that one, and I've never seen a team choke that many rounds like Splyce did. Like it just shouldn't happen. You win one of those, maybe one of those in a series. Hell, you win one of those at an event.
The 9v19 one though, I think PD did well to get in church.
D-Frag got the last kill.
But that was when they got A though. PD got in there and he stayed alive for ages, and you captured A. Then suddenly you got 5 down on the rotation back to B, and I was like, they're gonna fucking do this. Like,
I remember the reason I remember that little head glitch because you know how you have like a quad split when you cast in. I was casting like alpha, and at the time you guys were casting on Bravo, and I was watching this like 4-inch screen of like a war versus, and I was watching the life count on just control just to try and see the lives, and it was in church, I think it was, but I never like actually saw it. I need to go back and watch it properly to actually probably appreciate what actually happened.
Yeah. Honestly, just go and watch it, mate. It's absolute chaos from start to end. As soon as you get past that first round, it's just mental. It's just complete mental. It's probably one of my favorite maps I've ever watched.
We kind of chucked the first round because we had a life advantage throughout most of the first round, and we just didn't get like a solid push in at all. We just kept dying like like 1-2 deaths all the time.
It seems like you guys never really like started pulling together as a team, and he actually really had to. Like he had to be under severe pressure to go for it. Because I was very curious about how Petey's comms were when he's just alive in church, just running around like a lunatic, just trying to stay alive.
You want to know his comms, man?
But so that's the control, right? And it doesn't even end there, right? We move on. And
Hacienda was what it was, I think. I suppose.
Hacienda wasn't amazing.
No, it's just one of the maps where you don't know how to slow down again.
Yeah.
Just constant headbutt and no structure.
Yeah, I think we said that as well. I think we said you guys were going in one by one a lot of the time.
Yep, happens so much with this team.
But let's move on to the S&D because I don't even know what to cover. Didn't you guys go up to begin with?
When you were 5-2 up, I was pretty confident.
Yeah, that was it.
After that, after defrag missed the slam, I was like, "This is done." Like it was.
Wait, didn't we criticize Josh for a slam? What slam was it that we criticized him on?
That was in the E6 game. On
Gridlock. Josh held on to his slam for about 6 minutes and then killed Dave, and I was losing my freaking mind.
When I watched it back, I know we'll talk about it. You got a 2-piece, and then like 2 seconds later, he grab slammed and killed you. And it was like,
he'd had it for most of the game because he got it early. He just hadn't used it.
Shocking.
If it didn't grab me, he would have won on that hill.
It was so funny. I was like, that is.
But anyway, so this is one of the games we can talk about later. So frequency 6-5, but it went back from 5-2 to 5-5, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Don't you guys get bombed down?
Down? What happens is that we're down on the B Street. Yeah, we get full control of it, and what we always do is just hold their side. Steve-O, Defrag, and B just 3-man hold their side, and it works a lot of the time. So and Josh even called, just chill out, hold, don't do anything. And what does Peek do? Peek straight through their spawn, doesn't shoulder peek, nothing, runs into their bomb blue, gets blooded. So we have bombed down, Peek blooded for no reason, happy days. And then they 5-man down mid, and me and Josh are like I'm trying to hold orange, Josh is just shoulder mid. I instantly turn around, make 2 people weak. Josh picks up a 2-piece, thank God.
I think it was Steve who got the 2-piece, wasn't it? Or was it Josh got 2 as well?
Yeah, Josh started it off to get a 2-piece, so made a 2v3. Steve luckily made a good flank, and no one stayed up mid or jumped back up. Kills 2 in the back, and at that point, Defrag was blue elbow, and he was about to run at them, and Josh starts screaming down his mic, "Run away, run away!" And then he runs back, and then that's when he starts running away from the Tempest.
Yeah.
He was push him and just probably leave Steve on like a 1v1 or something.
Yeah. Because the people were saying it wasn't that high because he couldn't have made it. I was like, if he got defragged with enough time,
if he got him straight away,
Steve may have shoulder peaked it or something. Like I imagine Steve probably would have waited it out, but like anything could have happened with the Tempest. We know how it was.
There's no way you could have peaked it when he's got that Tempest for how good it was that weekend. You would have just been like, nope, just leave it.
You missed everything.
Well, if he killed Adam maybe with the first shot, the Tempest shot, there was about 12 seconds or something left, and if he downed Steve at top mid, he'd still have to jump up and try kill him.
Yeah.
So I think it was an impossible round to win at that point.
Yeah, I just think it was just insane it ended, and obviously watching Cute chase defrag around with a Tempest was fucking comedy. It was just the funniest thing I've ever seen. Cute was about to go out of the tournament, and he just can't hit defrag to save his life.
I remember speaking to defrag afterwards. I was like, I thought he lost it after Temp hits him out of the Grav Salam midair to win it.
Oh, I forgot about that round.
I lost my head when that happened. I honestly thought he won.
That was 5-2. That was at 5-2.
That was at 5-2. I thought it was the right call. In all fairness, by defrag. It's just
he used a streak that round as well.
Yeah,
he got back smacked, didn't he? He got back smacked because it ended up flying past him.
Yeah.
Everything about that game was mental. Like just because we saw it, but honestly, it needs to be back and watched because the S&D and the control were 2 of the most insane things ever. I honestly thought if you guys had gone out the tournament after being back smacked by from a grab slam,
nah, that's not something I want to think about.
That would have lost full.
A couple of these next couple of games.
Singularity Envy. That was obviously Envy going out the event. Not very pleased with that. Was Singularity moving forward, which was a surprise to a few people, continuing moving through a few pro teams.
That's when they started to look good, and then they lost the next round. But at the same time, everyone's seen them and going, all right, okay, fair enough.
This next one, by the way, Faze 100T. We got to talk about because
have you
100T.
seen Have you ever seen a fucking reverse sweep like that in your life?
Honestly, like for me, the only crazy map was the third.
Yeah.
Map 4 was pretty close.
It was crazy that it's a reverse sweep and everything like that, but that control was the worst way to go out of a tournament, especially against a team where if FaZe beat 100 Thieves, FaZe could have been in the grand final.
Oh yeah.
Well, they
That
went
control was
Sicario,
horrible.
then EG, then Rec, then E6, then OG. Like,
Can you? I mean, can you imagine though? 2 versus. I mean, Dave can imagine. He did it fucking 3 times. But FaZe, they must watch back that control round and just have fucking nightmares about it. 2 versus 7, and everyone, I saw the criticism going on at Zoom saying, "Oh, if he'd just thrown his
Done.
Yeah,
Hindsight's
but
a
like he didn't
wonderful
know.
thing.
Like he didn't know that, and he was right. What he said. He said, "What if I got caught? Must have done my hand and lost that way."
Yeah.
People are giving him the same criticism. Like people are saying, "Oh, you should have just waited." Admittedly, he got gunned. Like that was such a quick gunfight.
Yeah, Priester, wasn't it?
The gunfight that won them was that when Priester first went into Sushi and had that strafe kill with a SOG.
Yeah.
I don't know who he gunned, but
I think
that
it was
was
Zuma. I think it was Zuma.
nuts.
Yeah,
That kill
I
was
call that-
so
yeah.
good.
I call that getting solved. It's ridiculous.
Ah,
Whenever
give
that
him a
happens,
shimmy, didn't
but
it?
that was
yeah,
FaZe out.
Priester,
FaZe,
though, didn't it?
yeah. Between them and Splyce, I think it's worse for FaZe going out top 16.
Oh, 100%. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I think, you drop in, you have to pay 100T for top 16. It's like, oh, fuck. It's a rough one. Either way, it's somebody, it happens on the odd occasion. You can't, it is a top 16, but you're lucky they lost to. They lost to Rack and 100T. It's a bit like when OG lost at Miami. Like,
I think this is what I was on about when I was saying this is when Cell was dropping like 50 and lost.
yeah, that was the Hacienda. Dropped 50 for the L.
Yeah, that was awful.
It's tough. I feel bad for them because I honestly, it's one of those where you just.
I think whoever won goes on for a run as well.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But yeah, that when 100 Thieves, I was watching, I was like, 100 Thieves are out. They're done. Like the 2-0 down, in the control that round. I was like, it's 2v7. I was like, they're out. 100 Thieves are out top 16. And then they won.
Yeah.
I was like, they're going to make the grand final.
If I remember correctly, I'd queued up a few people were queuing up tweets, obviously. Someone who was in the green room.
100 top 16.
100 top 16, yeah.
I'd queued up the tweet which said 100 Thieves have got 3-0. Then I changed it to 100 Thieves have got 3-1. Then I changed it to 3-2. And then, because my tweet, you can still go back and look at it. You'd say 100 Thieves win 3-2. It was actually the way around. And it was like they won 2-3. And I just kept changing it every map. And I was like, oh, FaZe are out.
Also, I'm not sure what round it was as well, but it was last map when Octane got that 1v3.
Yes.
Which was that was a nuts 1v3 as well when he was back box.
Oh yeah. I think it was just the time was in his favour, but I mean, look, a lot of people were talking about, I know, on Trading Shots like the best player of the year. I was thinking Octane when they were saying that. I know he hasn't necessarily like. I just think he's easily the best ICR in the game, obviously behind you, Dave. But at the same time,
cheers, thank you, mate.
But
Way better than Dave.
Easily the best ICR in the game.
I love you, Dave, but I think you're Octane above you, yeah.
Yeah, ICRs, like people are saying EUnited are the best team in the game, which I agree. Like overall, you can't really kind of challenge that now, but Octane still trumps the ICR kind of role.
Yeah, 100%. He was crazy all year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not at the beginning, but
last game in this round then. Heretics Elevate.
God.
It actually went 3-2,
right?
but I don't remember anyone talking about it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Heretics Elevate, this is the one I was talking about before, where it was last game on Bravo, whatever day it was. It went on for like 3 hours. There was 2 technical difficulties.
It was a
Then
pretty
there was
good game,
internet
all those things.
issues. It was just, but when all the difficulties were done, we load back in and Elevate go at 100 miles an hour, and Heretics are just like, they're still asleep. And it was kind of upsetting, but certain people, I think was it Skies? Not Skies. Who is it for Elevate? Whalers and what's his name? Who's Elevate's roster? Someone remind me.
Profizi, Willis, M. Ruiz, Believe, Lesfield.
Never mind then. Whalers, give it him. Whalers dropped big numbers.
Were you thinking about Brezzy on E6?
No.
French.
No, that was That was the day after. Brezzy did amazing though. I like that with Brezzy in regards to his like the highest earning French player, highest placing French player ever, or whatever it is at Champs. But
I noticed Jonas was very active on Twitter.
Oh, I think Darrell should put there. I think it must have been for Faze. The last map they played, it was Wales and someone, and they just kind of ruined them.
Yeah, I didn't see much of the game, so I couldn't comment. But it was one of those where I really thought Heretics would win that one, but Elevate just pipped them to it. I know Elevate's tournament ended pretty fast after that, but not really a surprise, to be fair. Anyway.
No, isn't. Let's move on to winners round 2. Fortunately, that's the biggest round, obviously the first one. EUnited Evil Geniuses. EG actually coming out swinging. It's the first time EUnited looked like they could have a bit of a problem going forward, but bearing in mind how close these games were, right? 250, 228.
Well, EG were
3-2.
They were like 60 points up on one of the maps as well.
Yeah.
At 2-4-4. I think they were 6 points off, and then EUnited just didn't lose a point. So yeah, that's one of those. If EG go on to win that, how does the tournament actually play out? Well,
I don't know. It was close both ways. I could see it going either way, but like at the same time, EUnited had both hard points, and then one of the last S&D, which bearing in mind the S&D gridlock was 6-4 for EG. You are right. That was their biggest challenge up until that point.
S&D Arsenal for EUnited, though. You're going to see that become a recurring theme.
Yeah. They're good. I actually want to. What?
That was the
United S&D.
I actually want to talk a little bit about the next game as well. Sicario units, because I didn't know what to think of this game coming in. I thought, maybe it'll be a very close game between the two of them, and then units just kind of went, oh no, it's not going to be.
Yeah,
we're good, thank you.
Yeah, they look pretty convincing in this one. In all fairness.
Only the control they lost.
Other than that, like Sicario, I think that was the limit. When you see teams start to come out these harder games, winners round 2, things become a lot more difficult. And as said, units are not a bad team at all. I think a lot of people writ them off when Rated and Joe picked up fucking Wee Man and the boys. But honestly, they played really well.
I thought units were going to win this game. I went in thinking units should win this game.
Oh yeah, 100%. And they did. There's not really much to say about it. I think that was pretty much expected, in fairness. The next game was fucking
Rec LG.
Yeah. We got lucky with that one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
That. A few people weren't too happy. We'll not talk about it.
What do you mean? Oh, who wasn't too happy?
When Nameless just can't believe Brice until they got that game. Shocking.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Nameless just hates us, so,
Racist.
Yeah.
But
this was this was one of the ones where the thing is it wasn't a great game until we got past the first S&D, because it was one-sided to LG, and they were up. Well, this was a reverse sweep, wasn't it? This was one of the reverse sweeps that went 2-0 up and then got reverse swept, because LG won the first hard point to 250 to 172 6-2, and then they went 2-0 up on frequency control. And then they got reverse swept. Reverse swept. And it ended in a 6-5.
Hate to see it.
I don't like to see reverse sweeps. There was too many this jams.
There was a lot, wasn't there? There was
a lot this year, just in general, man.
I suppose that's what happens when you got videos and stuff, and this game, it's so fast and furious. Once that momentum gets behind you, you're playing like a cracked out lunatic.
It has been like that. I think people underestimate how actually pulling off a reverse sweep is possible. You win that control, you got the momentum in the hard point, and then you've won 2 back to back, and anything can happen on that S&D. But it happens. Shout out to Brice's time. Just in this moment of silence.
You got to really low it down. You're like
playing some MWR.
100 Thieves have never been swept. Since that,
you playing
that's a pretty cool stat.
Are you playing Momo Warfare, Dave?
Yeah, it's downloaded. I can't wait. Right, check this kill cam out. Watch this. Watch. Oh, you can't really see it, but he's been absolutely world sad for the 2-piece.
Well, we've still got a bit of the bracket to go. OG versus E6. And again, this was pretty much what we were expecting from OG. Like this at this point, you sit there and say, you know, Optic Gaming looked pretty strong. They only lost the search, and that was 6-5. The rest of it, apart from the control, was a bit close. The rest of it was just Optic Gaming just doing what they were doing. Like their hard point is very, very strong.
Yeah. Their hard point was really good, and it was just a case of winning one of the other maps and the Yaguchi. Yeah.
Did they win 3-1 again on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we cast that out for again. It was just like
this is the one with Seaside, and there was 2 5-pieces, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was when I started to believe about Optic. I was like, hang on a second, these guys are frying. Because they made E6 look amateur then in that series.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
And then I was thinking, hang on a second, we could have an amazing chance because if Optic go far, the crowd's crazy, blah, 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 blah. But like, I started to believe Optic were going to go far in the tournament.
I told you that Optic hype starts up early, man.
Hype train, baby.
Let's go into the loser bracket. And this is all about Dave again.
Fuck off.
Because you got reverse sweeped here, Dave.
Tough scenes.
I mean, to be fair, the hard point was 250 to 249.
Yeah, I watched that back the other day. It was mental.
Aye.
It was a pretty crazy one, but honestly, after the first 2 maps, he did really well, obviously, and then the first round of Control, Steve got War Machine in about 5 seconds, and I was like, well, this is over.
Yes.
And then it came down to a few good specialist players out of them, more than anything.
Yep.
The direct impact War Machine, that was one of the...
Steve killed me with his War Machine somehow.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how he did that.
Oh, that's what we're going to talk about, because this is the one that made no sense to me. You guys were like riding high off that massive win. You go into the Control on Arsenal, right?
One up so fast.
And you win the most dominant, probably, Arsenal attack I have ever seen. Steve just basically runs into mid-map, just kills everything. And then you just go, right, we've done that, it's got to be now.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, they're about to end this 3-0. And then what on earth happened? Like, it's just like you just burst everything out in the first 2 maps.
Yeah, I feel like they kept pushing through mid, and they somehow were making the kills. And like they were 5-manning through, and they were actually just, you know, we were overcharging and getting picked. And then, you know, it got them that beating. So after that round, they got specialist progression streaks and whatnot. So we kind of chuckled a little bit. If we went 2-0 up, we're no way we're losing that. And it's just unfortunate. We shouldn't have been in the tournament from yesterday, but and the game we should have won, we didn't. The game we should have lost, we won. So
yeah.
How much did you guys win from this one, Dave?
Same as Miami. There was like $7.2k each. Like that.
I think it was 50.
But yeah,
He's one. Yeah.
37% tax.
Love that.
Absolutely love it. I get about £4k after tax.
It's not
Could be
bad
worse.
weekend. It's not bad.
Yeah, not
weekend.
too bad.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that you made a name for yourself in terms of franchising next year. So
Yeah, hopefully get into a team, and fingers crossed.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, they've got like big rosters now and stuff. I'm hoping we're gonna see some 10-man rosters.
Yeah, we'll talk about
I'm
that
hoping.
another day.
Yeah, well,
Or
we're getting distracted.
literally will be, yeah.
We're getting distracted. Who else have we got here in the loser bracket? LG Singularity. That was kind of an obvious one after how LG were playing.
Singularity came out one first map though. S&D 6-5, and then from there it's like.
Yeah.
I think if Singularity go 2 up, then you know you got a different game potentially, but you lose full after losing that 6-5. Would have put you 2 up against LG, to then go on to play against E6.
Yeah, I think like LG. That was like the start of LG looking pretty tasty. Problem was they didn't make it much further than that. The next game is basically like, I know that the 100T's loser bracket run started against Faze, but this is like truly, because I didn't fully get on the 100T hype phase until the Sicario game, because then I was like, all right.
It's hard to get on the hype train there though, because it's like, well,
I mean, it's only Sicario, but then like there's EG next, and you didn't know if they were going to do much. I mean, then the rec game, and by that time we're already basically in the Champ Sunday anyway. But like 100T, like that, I remember, I think I watched that game. I just thought, they look considerably better than I thought they were, like in the Faze game.
Definitely took a lot of momentum from beating Faze. You would say. I mean, you would.
But also, I think in the loser bracket, I think Faze was probably the hardest game. Like they came up against good teams like Sicario or Rec or whatever it is, but you went into every one thinking 100 Thieves are the favourites because of who 100 Thieves are. And It's like they should have made the whole way back to the grand final. If you look at it game by game, like they've just got such a good team and so much talent.
Yeah, they have. They really have. Then the EG Elevate game, that was just like the end of their tournament, and you could just see it coming. I mean, the first hard point, you kind of said, all right, maybe 250-227, and then Gridlock 6-2 and Arsenal 3-0. Like that was like just a goodbye Elevate game.
Yeah. I feel like Elevate were fortunate to get through. They did get through, and to be fair, the fact that they beat Heretics, I was relatively surprised at. But yeah, I think all things said with the way the groups went, the fact that they still finished top 12, I think it'll be like, well, fair enough. Okay, you'll be relatively happy with that in the end. I know nobody's gonna be happy with top 12, but at the same time, it's one of those where you look at the situation in group and how they got out, and you'll be like, well, we take those.
Yeah, I think so. Let's move on to the E6 LG game. And I'll let you take this one because I need to take a tiny second away from the camera.
Well, I didn't see it, Bricey, in all honesty.
Which game? Which game is
E6
this?
LG.
Yeah, I have no clue what happened.
We were casting
not a clue.
Not a clue.
All right, well, now Bryce is gone. We can use this time to talk about Bryce and his hat.
Oh, God, the hat looks so bad.
Yeah, but imagine if he took it off, it'd look worse, wouldn't it? We've seen what's under there, right? What was the score with this? Do you have the scores?
It was last map. I know that. E6 won last map.
Yeah, E6 won last map.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody knows the score on the map, so just skip to the next round.
General was just running around with his dual zoom 2x.
We'll just tell Bricey when he gets back that we're onto the final.
Yeah, it was E6 units next, wasn't it? Then remember them maps? Nope. Nope.
I remember E6 smoking them and we were like, well, because I remember messaging, it was first game of the day on Bravo, wasn't it? I remember messaging Reece saying, fuck, I think I'll play an E6 for top 4.
Who was next after that? E6 what? 100 Thieves?
And no,
Wreck?
100T Wreck.
Don't remember.
I was 100T, just doing 100T.
Yeah, I remember watching both these games in the gym with Bryce because we didn't come in too early because we weren't working that day.
Yeah, just must be nice.
Look at
right?
it. Yeah.
I want to remember is the Optic 100 Thieves in the final.
Yeah, the final 3 game, like the top 3.
What I will say.
Go on.
What I will say is that after Friday, Saturday, Sunday was not nearly as entertaining. I didn't think. I don't know if it was just because
I just thought it was predictable.
It was. I think that you look at the first 2 days though and how they unfolded, it would have been really hard to have 3 days in a row where it was like just crazy shit, mad.
I will say for viewership, getting 100 Thieves, Optic United top 3 is like the best thing we could have had.
Yeah. 100%.
Sorry, Dave. I'm getting a drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, feel free to nick off and go and play Momo if you want. Feel free, because by this point, War out the tournament after you got reverse swept anyway. So,
right, okay, that's it. That was gonna be nice. You know what? Done.
I'm back. We'll just get a drink.
I can't give too much input on the games anyway because I don't really remember too much about them. I think the final. I was in the hotel in the bath watching the team.
That's it. Cool.
And I was in the bath, so.
I'll let you.
I think the one thing I will say is when we came to our top 3 or whatever it was, when Optic lost to who did they lose to in the winner bracket grand final? EUnited, was it?
Yeah.
EUnited beat them, and when they went into that, I did like a side interview for something. I was like, when Optic were to lose that, they were for me always going to drop into 100 Thieves and just bomb out. I never saw Optic beating 100 Thieves. It just felt like it was like written almost in the stars for 100 Thieves to play EUnited. Who wins that is the best team in the game. That's where you base 100 Thieves go. We've won the most events, we won champs, and the likes of Octane would have got an MVP. He would have been the best person to ever touch the game. If EUnited won, it was Sim. It was EUnited, the best team in the game. People would have argued, I feel like, if Optic won the whole champs, because they technically won 2 tournaments, much like 100 Thieves did, that they were the best team in Black Ops 4, but it would have been, I don't know, it would have been like a bit meh.
Have we skipped past the EU units game?
Oh, we nailed all that, Bryce.
Yeah.
What's the point in talking about it? It was so one-sided.
I mean, because it was funny.
Oh yeah.
Glad you can remember it.
Dave took over as host Brice because Tunn wasn't, he wasn't cutting it. So
Yeah, that's fair. Dave, you need you on it permanently, mate. Just an
Well,
upgrade in
well-
terms of looks.
Tom was being nasty, so I'm gonna go play Modern Warfare now and put my stream on.
Oh, lovely.
No, I've told him he can go because his team are out of the tournament by this point if he wanted to.
He was being
Because I can
nasty.
see he's playing it anyway.
Whereabouts are we?
We are up
In
to
the final.
winners finals, pal.
Winners finals. United OG. See, this is the thing, right? I thought at no point did OG look as good as United. Like coming in all the way through the bracket or whatever. United just looked like a cut above, especially after that Units game. Like I can't believe people went into this thinking OG could do it because United just looked like they'd just hit final form.
They look
same
like
thing.
that
Same thing with
against
100T as well. I actually thought, when we saw 100T Optic, there was two things. One, EU and 100T both looked better than Optic, but then as soon as Optic lost, everybody in the green room said the same thing. As soon as they lost that first game against the United, they were going to get spanked by 100T, and everybody knew it.
It was the
Thieves
SD
got like a
payload.
4-5 win streak.
It was the
And
S&D
just played
payload.
one game and got smacked.
Well, yeah, we bumped it. Scump outside the hotel afterwards. He was like, as soon as we threw that round of S&D, didn't win another map at the tournament. And that was it. Like when they got the Tempest out with Dashi, when they fucked it. That was it. That was it. I think the team just lost it. He was like, I was trying to get them going, just didn't happen. And then they got 3-0 on frequency, and they got 50-point club nearly in Arsenal where Clayster. I loved that listening. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, that was great.
Oh, so
Leicester
funny.
fell off the map in an S&D. That was probably one of my highlights, and he still won the round because he had those freaks.
You were looking at him, thinking he was going to make that jump and wondering if he was going to fall. He doesn't go for it. The Codgasser switches to someone else, and he goes in a gunfight, and you see him, his arrow just fall straight down.
So funny.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and that obviously that's the OG, the taking down of OG, right? And again, like we said, we knew it was going to be bad as soon as they lost. On the other side of the bracket, you got E600T and 100T. While the games don't really show it, that's when they looked like, oh shit, Optic have got a hell of a game coming for them because 100 Thieves looks so good. I just want to also point out here that those three games, EU OG, OG 100T, and EU 100T, were not the best games of the tournament. They just even the EUnited 100T game, just at the grand final, just didn't seem like a. I think, and I couldn't tell, right? And this is up to like personal preference. Was it that the rest of the tournament was just so batshit mental in terms of games and rounds and maps and everything that ended up happening and upsets that just, while they were still probably good games, it just had so much to live up to.
I do think that, but I will say, except Miami, no final all year has been like crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it tends to go that way.
Which is a shame because last year we got a few really good finals.
Me and Miles, we always cast like the winner bracket final, and that's our last game. And we always say like it's kind of like the best game of the tournament because whoever wins that game, 85% of the time wins the tournament anyway. And it's usually
losers final are
playing
usually
each
the
other
best.
that are undefeated.
Yeah.
Losers finals we used to do was sometimes like it's one team up and down after one game, one loss of the day, and then there's a team like 100 Thieves who've won like 6 back-to-back, and it's like this is probably going to go one way.
Yeah.
But I did think in the grand final, I did think 100 Thieves would push it to a second best of 5, and that's not something I thought from many finals in the whole year. But I genuinely thought this is the one year that a team can win from the loser bracket because 100 Thieves, again, going into this, I thought they were the best team. I always questioned some of the players on EUnited, like, again, Prestini, RC sometimes. Like, they just have that off game. They have that off game. But those two would actually be, ironically enough, were the ones to turn up in some of those. I think they went like 45 and 12 combined in one of the respawns. It was nuts.
Like when they do that, like how on earth are you beating that team? Like how on earth are you beating EUnited when they've got those lunatics and the twins are showing up?
Very, very difficult.
Like it's just not happening. You got Simp and Abizi just going berserk. Honestly, feels like when they spawn in at the start of the map, Honestly, it should be an animation where their leashes are taken off or something, or they just let them out of cages, because that's how it feels every time those two start playing.
They all had a really good event. I think if they don't, then 100T win it. I think it was that Hardpoint Arsenal. It was a bit of a comeback, wasn't it? 100T were up for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
But I think
that's it.
that's it in the grand final. See, I was never too worried about it going to a second best of 5. I still thought EUnited could do it in one. Watching from the stage.
It was all about if it went to map 5, then EUnited are probably going to win it.
Correct. That's what I thought. I thought they'd.
Didn't we question that? Did we? Wasn't there a question? Why have we gone to Arsenal S&D again? Like, why is that still in?
Yeah.
There was some bad vetoes by.
I knew it was chalk, but I wanted 100 Thieves to win because I'm a massive Slasher fan.
There was a couple of funny vetoes on the last day, actually. I think Rec against 100T was the weirdest one, where they picked Hassie and Arsenal against 100T. When you think of Reciprocity, you think like Seaside Frequency.
Yeah.
Well, it's just what Shane said, they weren't really too confident on Seaside and other maps.
Yeah.
They just chose what they were confident in, not too much about thinking who their opponent is, which is, if you're not confident on other maps, it's how you have to play it.
Yeah.
Play to your strengths, yeah.
Yeah, it just means, if anything, it just actually shows that your map pool's not as deep as it could be as some other teams. So that's where you get punished.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we talk about when we say, that's why you shouldn't always play your comfortable maps. You should really worry about counter picking, because if you don't have a deep map pool, right, that's what happens. You don't have a comfortable map to go to. I mean, you end up playing a team on a very good map for them. It doesn't matter if it's your best map. Like, if there's a very good map for them as well, you're doing yourself a disservice. And it happens, right? Sometimes you just can't get it clicking, but that's like the technical part of it. All right, well that's it. And by the way, I did think EUnited should have won this tournament. Like, I couldn't think of a more deserved team to win it. Like, back to back from Miami to this.
Super happy for them.
They look like champions.
Well, man.
Say again?
I love all 5 of them. I think everyone will say the same. Like, there's no one who's like a bit of a dick on the team. There's no one who's like, I just genuinely like all of them. It's nice.
They have a really nice fan base as well. I remember at London, everyone cheering for EUnited as well. EUnited 100 Thieves, like the big cheering going on. So yeah, it's good. Here's my questions before we get into the questions from the chat. So questions in the chat before we end this. Obviously MVP's an obvious one. It was Simp. Other than that, maybe Octane.
Yeah, I too.
I think Abizi is like that non-statistical MVP. Did you see Sim kind of be like, yeah, you should have got it because you jump into every fight, die, and I clean up, and it's.
Abizi had very good stats as well.
Yeah, he had a very good tournament, but the thing is that when Sim did them flashy players like in the S&Ds with the sniping and stuff, and it was like that's what people remember. They don't remember Abizi going +5. So yeah, I think it's one of those where Simp had the standout moments, and I honestly, you could have given any of them. My dark horse for it was Pristini. He had a cracking event, Pristini. In all honesty, he's usually that guy that is somewhat, he's like the enable of EUnited. Like you'll drop like a 0.9 and everyone will be all right with it, and that's fine. But he played really well every time I've seen them playing. I think you could have given it to any of them, but Simp was probably the obvious choice, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, if it was 100T, absolutely Octane. Priester maybe, I would say, but Octane's been an absolute beast.
Priester I don't think Priester had good like Thursday or Friday.
Yeah,
like he was feeling ill or something.
Saturday, Sunday.
Simp would be easy, and then if 100 Thieves wouldn't, it would 100% have been Octane.
All right, so biggest choke of champs.
Genji next.
Yeah, it's not even hard, is it?
It's the worst choke, like big scale, like for a team to come in, predicted maybe to finish top 3. It
wasn't even like they got tiebreaker fucked either. They just got fucked.
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's just so bad.
The third game against C6 they're already out, so it's hard to say. But
that game was
hardest game I've had to cast this year.
I remember celebrating that I didn't have to cast that game.
Yeah, because we were supposed to have War Fuego on Charlie, and then that got moved because it was supposed to be Genji E6 on Alpha because they were presuming that would be for top spot, and I was like, okay, that'd be a really good game. And then they changed it. I was foaming. I was so mad. I was like, God fucking damn it, because like between like me and Brice, I'll agree with that. Charlie games were horrible. God, some of them were so bad. Like just 3-0s, 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 3-0s constantly. Like
someone pointed out second biggest was Faze probably, but I mean, in fairness to them, they come against a hot rec team and a hot 100T.
Yeah, I think that's one of those. You get an unfortunate bracket and then an unfortunate way to lose. I would say the control itself was probably a choke.
Yeah.
But losing the series,
biggest surprise then? Who was the biggest surprise at Champs?
I think Singularity.
If you're saying good way, then I think Singularity.
Yeah, Dave, I know you're smiling there, but I expected you to do relatively well.
Oh, you expect Team War to be better than Team Singularity without a question. Like, that's not even gassing Dave up because he's on here, but it's. I think as well. I think E6 were that dark horse, which actually were a dark horse, and they performed again.
Yeah,
to a
point. That's a good point. I was thinking maybe E6.
E6 a bit of a surprise there, but I mean, for me, it was like if they'd lost to LG, that would have been like normal. I think the LG game was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought LG would win that.
I kind of wanted to say Unit, but Unit's still a good team.
Yeah, against Units and LG, that was where they did surprise. Up until that point, nothing too crazy in their games outside of the reverse sweep.
Yeah, someone said Rec, but we kind of put Rec like top 8, top 6, and they did well at Miami, so like we can't really say it was a surprise.
In the end, didn't they?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a surprise. I think they performed again, which is good for them, but
not about where we thought they would.
All right, let's talk about the questions from the chat, and then we'll wrap this one up.
I know everyone wants to go play Modern Warfare, me included.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. How many EU AMs you reckon will get picked up by franchise teams on the 10 players? I reckon there'll be a few. It might be worth taking a punt.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is like for organizations, I don't know how many subs they're going to use, just because you have to give them a minimum of that certain.
Yeah, you have to give a minimum $50,000 just to pick them up, which is obviously the issue. Yeah. The benefit of it is if you are going to go that route and pick up AMs, you can give them a minimum contract and then use that as your scrim team. And I would love to see a team do that. I would love to see a team pick up another team to scrim with, because then you can switch. Yeah. And then you've got your 5 players on your roster are going to be sweating their tits off because they don't want to be beaten by their AM team.
But you're also paying a minimum of $250K a month.
Mate, some of the pros will be asking for that anyway for a single player. So I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's that big of a deal when we talk about this kind of money.
I was surprised. In fact, no, I won't go into that next. Sorry.
Franchise episode. Let's have a little look. Where are we going? I'm classing Shawnee, Vance, David. AMs even though technically pros. Yeah, I mean Shawnee, Vance, Dave, they'll all get on a team. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest here. If someone doesn't pick up Dave, I'll be very upset. Someone give me the London spot, I'll pick him up.
I honestly think as well, it depends on location. I think that's it, because it's whole visas and players. Like, I don't know the split of who's going to be where.
Yeah.
It's until we know more information, it's hard to say. I think people will be scouting right now, but it's difficult to say. We'll definitely see some UK AMs on some good teams, I would say.
Next question. How come Unit's got the freest winners bracket run? It's just how the bracket works, man. Just how the bracket works. Sometimes you get smashed, sometimes you don't. And they got a decent bracket run, but they still have to win the games put in front of them, right? That's all you can do. Mm-hmm. It's not like Unit's going, give us harder games, please. I don't feel like I've deserved it. Yeah. Yeah. You just take the games in front of you. Odie asks, I wonder how buyouts work for franchise team versus generic brand teams. Interesting question, Odie. The problem with that is it's a very deep question. I believe I saw something come out in the rules about legacy teams have like an extra week or something to sign players.
Yeah, they
something
can do
along those lines.
4 days time. If you've already got the players signed to contracts with your organization, you can sign them for your.
I don't know how the buyouts are going to work because obviously some players are still in contracts and stuff. But we will get to that in our franchise episode because we've got experts coming on, bare experts.
I'm literally not going to be talking during that episode. I am literally going to be producer Tom.
Mate, I'm going to be worried about the people coming on controlling them.
Jesus.
Let's have a little look. Next question we've already done that one. What other cities will be in franchising for 2020? We've heard all kinds of rumors like Phoenix and all sorts of stuff. I don't know, Madrid.
There was the announced one, which I don't know if you want to talk about. The whole Florida and Miami.
It was Miami and another LA team. I like the fact there's another LA team. I like that.
It's obvious, man. It's the most. It's the most. Doesn't LA have 2 in the NFL anyway? Isn't it like the Chargers and the Rams?
Same with Overwatch as well. You've got 2 Overwatch teams.
Not surprised. Not surprised at all.
Where's the Newcastle team? That's what I want to know.
Never.
I don't think they all will.
Can't even beat Norwich in the Premier League, bro.
Don't talk about it.
Best team of the year.
Best team of the year, you have to say EUnited.
EUnited wins it, yeah.
Because they had a couple of really good placements outside of
They
their
won the
first
biggest.
as well.
They won the biggest 2 tournaments
Yeah.
and the placements like Tunn.
And they had like 2 seconds or something like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
United. I think whoever won the final would have taken that crown.
Agreed.
That's why it was a great
right.
setup final.
Last question, and this is for Dave.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not for Dave. It's actually for us to answer about Dave.
Do you think?
Do you think Dave baited his whole team for his 1.1 KD?
Look at the crackheads he's got in front of him. Of course he did.
No, it's just
He's a
I can
smart
slow
player.
down.
He's a smart
I'm a
player.
main ICR. I'm not good at.
Plays for his stats. He knows what
Oh.
he's doing.
I'm a main
Bait out
ICR.
that
Not
full
to be first
ball,
in,
yeah.
am I?
There must be a point where you're trying to get in position with the ICR and you realise your team have already got in and either died or made all the kills and you can't do anything. Yeah.
And then I got to run back then, and I'm left trying to play time until they come back again. And I know they'll be there in a couple of seconds anyway, but I mean...
I'll wait for you guys to spawn up and just run in front of me again, then I might clean up some 20 HP players. Steve Strat.
My job to look over the boys.
All right. Last thoughts then. First players to get signed to a franchise. We'll talk about that when we come to the franchise episode because it is coming soon. We just got to wait for the next wave of information to come out. All right. That will do it for Spitfire. Thank you for Dave for joining us. Dave, any last words?
Someone pick me up.
Yeah, that's fair. I can agree with that one. Someone pick Dave up for God's sake. Phil?
No, nothing really. I'm home on Monday, so I'm just chilling out after champs, enjoying it. I will say to everyone,
weekend?
I might do. I'll probably just watch some streams, but I will say for everyone in the chat, Brice has committed now to a cut, and he has said he's giving me daily pictures and daily updates. So I want you guys to all hold him accountable as well. Brice is on the grind, and I'm yet to. Oh my God! Look at this. This is just unbelievable. Actually, Brice, that's quite impressive. Oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, and apart from that, Tunn actually might join us in one of these programs. I'm not sure though. Tunn's still thinking about it.
I'm going tomorrow.
Tan, any last words?
Nothing necessarily from me. We will have a franchise episode. As said, more information needs to come for that. I think next week we should be fine for an episode on Wednesday. I think, Bricey, unless you're away somewhere. But we will be. I think it's worth. I know you are mostly in charge of topics and whatnot. I think it's worth having a. I don't know if you want to have a roundup to the that sort of thing. Anyway,
we can finally get around to that bloody Blackout episode we've been planning on.
Yeah, we haven't necessarily put a pin in Black Ops 4 yet. Obviously, we're going to be playing a lot of Modern Warfare this weekend, so we could be doing something like that. Either way, we've got a few topics to talk about before we do really start delving into Modern Warfare for the next year. So the off season is still going to be active, even though the season itself is actually done. But other than that, nothing in particular. If you are here late, it'll be on YouTube probably tomorrow morning. Dave, what's your Twitch as well? I'll host you for coming on. It's just DQVEE.
Yeah.
There you go. You sort that one. There we go. That has been Spitfire Season 2, Episode 11. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're on the YouTube, make sure you drop a comment. We do try and read them. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.